Excuse me, while I'm doing this, I'm trying to make sure that it is actually streaming everywhere it is supposed to be, so it's going to take me a minute just to get everything. Make sure sound is working. So, as always, well, as recently, I am going to be doing this from a pre-recorded. Okay, is this... So the actual, like, talking part is going to be through a pre-recorded... Actually, we're going to switch over to... Here I am. It's going to be pre-recorded, so I can keep an eye on the chats. I will be in the Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook chats, so do feel free to pop in and add your questions whenever. Using Lightstream, I can very easily see the Twitch chat. I will be flipping through the YouTube and Facebook one. If there's any questions, please put them into the chat and I will get to them. So, we do have some very interesting things coming up. The adult summer reading program is still going on. It will be going on until the end of August. This month's prize involves Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra tickets, so if you're interested in that, stop by the library or get on Beanstack and we can get your tickets taken care of. They are all online tickets for the adult summer reading program this year. We do hope that this is helpful. We're kind of testing it out. So, okay, yeah, I'm just double checking the sounds again. What's some more stuff that we have going on this month? Like, I have it kind of memorized, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays this month, we are having a knitting kind of class from 1 to 2 p.m. with Mary Addison. She is very good at knitting. And that's every Tuesday and Thursday this month. The schedule will probably change for next month, but knitting with Mary this month on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Monday, we are having a puzzle race. Get your teams registered. Everyone is going to be doing the same puzzle, and we're going to see who can put their puzzle together the fastest. We do have quite a few puzzles, so we can do quite a few teams. That is also the same day as the pollinator program that is being run by, I do believe, Purdue Extension. We also have the Bee Movie. We will be showing it on Tuesday at 4 o'clock in the teen room. And of course, Wednesdays this month, we are doing a summer tabletop game that I am running. It is basically Jurassic Park if Jurassic Park was actually, legitimately run. And currently, I have 2.5 players. I have one person who just came for last week's, and he is quite enjoying it, so he might be back this week. I don't know. That's going to be up to his parent. On the 27th, we will be doing a craft that is the book page lantern. And on the 28th, the teen department is doing a shark bank painting, or you have it's a little ceramic shark bank that you can paint. Our example is actually Jeff from Marvel. I do believe Marvel Rivals is the one that I always see Jeff in. But you can make your own Jeff if you want to. We only have 10 spots available, so you will need to register in advance, and that is for the teens. And that will bring up everything for the rest of this month. We do have some things going on next month, such as bingo. We're going to be doing a adult D&D later on next month. I will be doing that one as well. I'm one of like 2 people who does DMing here at the library. And kind of makes sense they do writing club in D&D. It's both storytelling mediums. It's very fun. We have a lot of fun doing it. As always, check out our... That's weird. As always, check out our Sorry, just had a weird pop up. Anyway, uh, as always, check out our Facebook page. We try and keep that up to date. We do have a couple of open positions if you want to work here at our library, Clinton, Indiana. I mean, so, or at least those are posted. I don't know I'm not on the hiring committee, so I have no idea what's going on with them. So without further ado, we are going to start the streaming of the pre-recorded lecture that I did earlier. Enjoy. As I said, if you have questions, please pop them into the chat. I will answer them. So we're going to get that started. Hello out there, all you people. I need to hit the right button. Wrong button. Right button. Okay, so today we are exploring sci-fi or science fiction. This is the July 2026 Clinton Public Library Writing Club meeting. If you're not wanting to be here, then I suggest clicking away. Again, this is going to be showing on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch simultaneously. What I am saying right now is pre-recorded so that I can keep an eye on all the chats. If you have any questions, please pop a question in chat. We'll answer the questions. I get on to... Went too far. Okay. So, first, before we even really start talking about sci-fi, we need a definition for it. It is fiction, dealing with principally the impact of actual or imagined science on society or individuals, or having a scientific factor as an essential component. I have considered sci-fi books down here at the bottom of various genres. So what exactly does that mean? What is having a scientific factor as an essential orienting component? Well, a lot of people are going to say maybe something like space or computers or stuff like that. That is correct, but it can also be things such as just having a scientific background. There's climate fiction. There's all of the different punks, which we'll get into later. So, what is sci-fi? It has to be science-based, which means there has to be a potential for something to be possible. Now, could that be thousands and thousands of years in the future? Yes, but there should be a hint of it being possible versus the impossibility recognized in fantasy. So, like, they don't have magic. Your characters don't, there isn't a magic system, but there could be nanobots that are allowing them to do all sorts of crazy things. Yes, that was a reference to Metal Gear Rising. Yes, that was a reference. It is a form of speculative fiction. What is speculative fiction? Well, fiction that it's a fiction genre that includes fantasy, sci-fi, horror, things like that. Things not dealing with real-world settings, which would be your contemporary, and then not dealing with romance, although they can deal with romance because romance is a very popular subgenre. We've gone over that in our previous videos. Check out our playlist if you want more. So something can be speculative fiction, also be romance fiction at the same time. Now, sci-fi does not have to be space-based, although a lot of people are going, if you look at a cover and it's like a nebula or a spaceship, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a sci-fi. This is where you're going to get stuff like diseases and pandemics. The Andromeda Strain by Crichton. Same guy who did Jurassic Park. Sci-fi. Jurassic Park is a sci-fi. The basis of it is genetic engineering gone awry. Also theme parks gone awry, but it's based in a science setting. Then you have all of the punks. What do I mean when I say the punks? I mean steampunk, which is sci-fi setting because you're dealing with science. It may be older science, but it is still science. Cyberpunk, computer punk, computers in the future attaching the mainframes, androids, that kind of stuff. Uh, Diesel punk, solar punk, hope punk. That one's a more recently new one. I think that term has only been coined around like 2017. But those are all usually based in a science base. Someone's shooting off fireworks early. Um, so like their main tech base is something that's going to be in the sciences. Solar punk is going to focus on stuff like solar panels and green energy and things like that. Diesel punk is going to be focused on gas and diesel, and we'll cover more of this when I go over tropes later on in the thing, just going over some of my favorites. But another one that pops up a lot is most of your dystopians are going to slot somewhere into the sci-fi label, or it's going to have sci-fi maybe tacked onto it. Think 1984 by George Orwell. It's a dystopian, but it does have a heavy science fiction base. At the time, there wasn't really a thought of like television screens that could watch you in your home, and now we have smart TVs. So we'll be covering that again further on. Then you also have stuff like alternate realities. Uh, think any of you have read book series 1632, but that is a book series that I quite stuff. This way of the South won the Civil War. That tech falls into a sci-fi-ish. It falls into other ones as well, but you're mostly going with those going to see a sci-fi sublabel somewhere on it. Now we're going to bring up some of the famous sci-fi authors. You probably might recognize some of them. Mary Shelley, Isaac Asimov, who's where we know him for the Three Laws of Robotics, Arthur C. Clarke. I have to look him up again. Yeah, he's the guy was a futurist and space travel. Robert Heinlein. He was actually an engineer, but he he focused a lot on. He was a pioneer of the hard science fiction subgenre, which I'll be going over with soon. Ursula K. Le Guin. Oh yeah, she was Earthsea, the Earthsea fantasy series, but she also did the Hainish cycle, which was a future history that features these contacting each other for the first time and establishing diplomatic relations. Mm. Octavia Butler. I took a Octavia E. Butler. He, well, no, she, why did I say he? She was a what did they write stories? So you're going to notice that their things with psionics and disease mutated animals, telepathic powers, which may sound something that should be sci-fi, but it's actually dips into the it can dip into the sci-fi, but what she's really known for is Bloodchild and the Xenogenesis trilogy, which was written in 1984 to 1989. That one is set on an alien planet. Oh, yes, I remember this one. This is where you're going to get humans interacting with uh, insect like aliens. So, and then you also get Earthseed, which is environmental stewardship, corporate greed, the gap between the wealthy and the poor. Again, some of these things are things that are going to pop up again and again. Then you get Gene Roddenberry, aka who wrote Star Trek. In modern, the Weir, Project Hail Mary, The Martian, James S.A. Corey. Of the author of the science fiction series The Expanse, which it is. The first one is Leviathan Wakes. It is very much colonization of the solar system. What's some other ones I really don't want to stick around? Liu Liu Cixin, Cixin, Cixin. I'm horribly mangling her name, and I don't mean to. She was the one who wrote. It was made into a. She's a Chinese science fiction author. What is it called? The Three Body Problem. Yep, that's it. The Three Body Problem. It was he. Why do I keep on wanting to call these people by the wrong. It was recently made into a film adaptation. It's available on Netflix, known as The Three Body Problem. Martha Wells, Ernest Cline, S.J. Morton, Yume Kitase, Glenn Stewart. Please just look these people up. They do have some very interesting works. Like I said in the description for this video, science fiction is coming into a sort of at the moment. It is becoming more popular and more mainstream, especially with works like Project Hail Mary or Iron Lung getting really popular in theaters. A lot more people are looking to read science fiction than have been in the past. Not that it's been like on the downturn, but it's becoming more mainstream, almost is a way to put it. Alright, here we go with the fun stuff, talking about different genres and subgenres. This is a non exhaustive list. So you have your dystopian and utopian, two sides of the same coin, and oftentimes can actually be the utopian one can actually turn out to be a dystopia in disguise. I mean, just look at The Giver. AI and machine consciousness is a popular one right now, just because of the rise of machine intelligence, machine learning that has been in the news recently. Then you're also going to get your sci-fi romances, your alternate histories, space operas. Now, space operas are fun. They're some of my favorites. What is a space opera? So it's kind of like epic fantasy for sci-fi. So usually you're going to have alien civilizations, galactic empires, space warfare, chivalry, mythology. This is where a lot of fantasy tropes come into sci-fi a lot. So yeah, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who. Those are all different kinds of space operas. Mass Effect. If you're into video games, Halo is a space opera technically. Or, you know, Mecha. Admittedly, you're going that more with becoming popular over here in the West. This is your Gundam. This is your Evangelion. This is your Blue Seed, Robotech, those kind of things involving people piloting giant robots or giant suits of armor. Exploration, then you got climate fiction, things like, oh, what was that one? Oh, God. The Day After Tomorrow. Um, uh, I'm blanking on possible things that was the day after tomorrow, and then there was one where the world was ending due to the Aztec uh, prophecy thing, and it involved ships. Oh, yeah, I'm completely blanking on it. What was it? Oh, I can't remember. Someone in the comments who knows what I'm talking about, look it up. It was from like the mid 2000s. Uh, on to the next one. You got your apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic. So this is your stuff like Mad Max, which can also fall into the dystopia. One of my personal favorites at the moment is the video game slash lit RPG, which means literary role playing game. Now, a lot of these fall into the fantasy, but there are quite a few that take place in space. This is where you get, or it can even be something like Ready Player One, or Swords Art Online, where people are having adventures in a virtual landscape. Then you have your military sci-fi, your hard sci-fi, which I mentioned before. Hard sci-fi is heavily based in current science fact. This is stuff where, like, Project Hail Mary. This is stuff by Andy Weir. Is hard sci-fi because they're using currently known science to extrapolate 20 seconds in 20 minutes future. Very close, recent um, scientific breakthroughs causing XYZ to happen, or where the starting coming from. You can see where the sci-fi, which is this more up baby sci-fi, you may end up with like Clark Tech in this. I know I'm throwing out a bunch of words. This is where you're going to get things that are how to describe it. It's not as hard based on like it's still going to be based on like science, but it's not going to be like it'll sound sciency. Back to the Future. Back to the Future is a good one. You sit in your seat, set the date you want, and accelerate your DeLorean to exactly 88 miles per hour. So it's not actually explaining how the science works. It kind of hand wavies it versus the going into talking about the exact theories and things that are make your machine work. So, so soft sci-fi is a little bit more rules. Hard sci-fi is very firmly grounded in reality. Maybe just a handful of flights of fancy that are not justified by science. Horror sci-fi is a really popular one. This is stuff like Alien. Oh, what was that one? Event Horizon is one of my favorite ones. That might be because I am involved in the Warhammer 40k fandom, like from a lore perspective, and the guy who directed, and produced, and maybe even wrote that one was a Warhammer fan, which is why there are certain aesthetics in that movie. But it is a sci-fi. It is a horror sci-fi. And then you get to two of my other favorite genres, which are uplift and H and or humanity bleep. Yeah, that last one does have a Reddit, has several Reddit threads that are wonderful read throughs whenever you have time. But basically, uplift is when you take a species or race that doesn't have space travel abilities, and you give them the ability to space travel. So, the Krogan in Mass Effect, or this would be the entire reason why Star Trek has the Prime Directive. HF HFY, Humanity Bleep Yeah, is basically typically they're sci-fi stories involving humans encountering aliens and aliens being flabbergasted by things we do, like Earth being a death world and humans just being amazing because of our biology. I've seen some really interesting ones about how we are built for long distance running, and maybe other aliens aren't. There was this really good one on the HFY subreddit on Reddit that was about a running competition that happens every human because he was a marathon runner and the actual distance was less than a marathon, and he even started late and ended up winning because humans are built for long distance running. If you have trained for it, it's not really that much of a problem. So there was that. And that one was really interesting because it kind of went into the science of it. The person who was writing about it actually wrote the aliens reacting and how humans were able to do this. Going to the type of movement we have, heartbeat works, and just all the things that make a long distance runner good for long distance running. All right, that's just some of the genres and subgenres. Now we get into one of my favorite things. We're just going to cover a few of them because sci-fi tropes. Do remember, a trope is not a cliche. Tropes are things that exist because they are patterns, and humans are really good at recognizing patterns. So we are actually going to bring that up, and we are going to. I'm hoping it's showing on here. Yes. So this is TV tropes. I like using this when I am writing just to find examples. So this is where you're getting everything I was talking about earlier, steampunk to cyberpunk, and running headlong into space opera along the way. So some examples on here. We're just going to some random ones. Video game stories. I covered that earlier. So this is about vid games, real or fictional, where players play an important role in the story, incorporating video game tropes and video game culture. You're going to get a bunch of things like the Dot Hack multimedia franchise. This is where you're going to get. Alright, these are all anime and manga versions. What ones are some? Then you got your fan works, films, animation, the Emoji Movie, Wreck It Ralph, Breaks the Internet. Here's your more live action ones. Here's the ones that a lot of people will probably recognize. Free Guy. um, which was a comedy starring Ryan Reynolds as a popular online game called Free City that grows beyond his programming and discovers the truth of his reality and works to become a good guy in the chaotic. John G. Welcome to the Jungle, where people get sucked into a video game. Ready Player One, I already mentioned that. They are also popular in literature. This is where you get stuff like Overlord and Ready Player One, Ready Player Two. Solo Leveling is a web serial novel and a web comic, and then the published novel. That is one of the things. It's sci-fi. Oh, here's the punk, the different punks. Sorry. So you have your punk, and then you have your cape punk, which is the deconstructive of the superhero genre, and the biopunk, which is like biotech, and atom punk, which is the 50s, 60s, or 70s with atom power. That's actually, if I'm right, if we look in at atom punk, I'm fairly certain if we look at video games, first Bioshock, not Bioshock, um, was going to be on there. The Covenant and Halo, Fallout. That's the one I was thinking. Fallout series is elliptic and gothic world. Fallout or the Institute plays this aesthetic completely straight. So the aesthetic is like ray gun gothic, jetpacks, flying cars, that kind of thing. Desert punk, sci-fi world set in the desert. Dune. That is Dune. I'm sorry, that is Dune. John Carter of Mars is another one. That's actually a pretty good series. I like that one. Then you got your cyberpunk, diesel punk. Yeah, diesel punk is kind of steampunk but dirty. What's some really well-known ones? Let's go into films live action. The ABCs of Death, the H segment, Captain America: The First Avenger, the creations of the 1940s blown up to the next level. That's the kind of thing that is diesel punk. Um, what's some other ones that I've seen? Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. That one kind of is that, and also Atom Punk, Watchmen. That's some literature ones. Ones that Clockwork Century. Um, The King in Yellow. So there's those kinds of things. See, this is kind of like what I like to use TV tropes for. It's looking up examples so that I can have a good way of describing something. Here's the solar punk. Based on renewable energy, it's typically like really positive, if I'm right. Big Hero 6, Treasure Planet, Wall-E, as you see the credits roll. The Wild Robot, Zootopia as a subversion because the city appears to fit the aesthetic. However, Judy discovers Bunt that the just a standard city with a few green trappings. Black Panther. It's an Afrofuturist paradise, thanks to vibranium. Doctor Strange and the Multitudes of Madness, Multiverse of Madness. That's Earth 838. It's like not super new, but a lot of things are getting labeled with solar punk more often now than have in the past with some video games. Final Fantasy 13, Fisherman's Horizon. Final Fantasy 14. Not played Final Fantasy 14. Sumeru. the city and palaces in the forest part of the nation of Sumeru in Genshin Impact. Breath of the Wild. It's a Magitech heavy, cozy catastrophe setting. And so you're getting an idea. So I'm not going to cover more of those because I'm already taking up plenty of your time. So that's just a couple of my favorites. I do suggest if you're interested in more finding out more about sci-fi, maybe getting some new reading material, that you check out the TV Tropes science fiction set. Do beware, it is a well-known website for going down a rabbit hole and being stuck there for multiple hours. So if you do, make sure you have used the bathroom and have a nice snack on hand. All right, science fiction and society. A lot of times reveal, poke at us. You're going to find there was a big that I am reminded of a lot when I think about this is the kiss between James Kirk and Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek when it first came out in the, what was it, the 50s, 60s? I don't remember the exact date, but it caused a lot of backlash. There were people writing in, it was in 68. It was the first interracial kiss on television. Uh, but they were using that science fiction to they were using the science fiction setting to bring attention to like these things. There's some more this is a difficult thing to explain without having a lot of it. So for example, Dune is actually reflecting a lot of real world political developments and ecological issues that are going on. Sometimes you find societal or say political ideals taken to the extremes. So you'll get maybe communism taken to the extreme or capitalism taken to the extreme in some of these science fiction. Um, Again, I come back a lot to Star Trek, but it is a long-running series of science fiction that has been going on since the 60s and has covered a lot of different political bits. I mean, look at X-Men. If you want, I mean, it's technically a sci-fi because it's dealing with genetic mutations and the like, which is in the sci-fi genre, but the X-Men have been taken for minority groups, skin color, gays, the LGBTQ, all sorts of things have been like what the X people have said. Oh, that's what the X-Men are, and it keeps changing with like each generation. It just feels like that to me. Now, this can go in many different ways. This can be used to bring stuff to the attention of people. It can be really in your face, or it can be very subtle. Um, there was a movie in 2009 called District 9, and it was a direct allegory for apartheid in South Africa. So you have that. And then you also have some sci fi. Oof. Elysium. Elysium is more of a class based apartheid, with wealthy people living in a disease free space station while the working class struggle for survival on a ruined Earth. Admittedly, something like that reminds me a lot of Gundam Wing, which was one of my first introductions to anime, where you have the colonies that are rebelling against the rule of Earth. And, like, yeah, it's a fun story about giant mechs and fighting and war, and there's explosions, and there's a romance subplot. But then, if you look closer at what it is condemning and what it is wanting you to really take a look at, it becomes a lot more subtle in the us versus them narrative and how easily the them can become someone else very quickly. So you do have that going for you for science fiction. Also, for science fiction, you're going to get, especially in the older science fiction, like, again, I'm coming back to Star Trek because Star Trek is the granddaddy that most people know. If they don't read science fiction, then they probably have watched a sci fi show that can trace its origins back to Star Trek. Bless Lucille Ball. Does it predict tech or does it inspire tech? It can go either way. I mean, we have cell phones now that basically are the tricorders that were used in Star Trek. What's some other? 2000 Leagues Under the Sea predicted submarines. Um, what's some more? Uh, we have rocket ships. The There was an early silent film that was about Take Me to the Moon, I think, and it had a rocket crashing into the moon, just to prove that things are older than you think. The first of what could be considered an android was in The United Worlds, a poem in 57 books by Mark Drinkwater that was published in 1834. Let's get some other. War of the Worlds predicted lasers because it had a heat ray for a laser and then a chemical weapon that was a poisonous vapor by means of rockets. That was War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells in 1899. The smart home was predicted, I believe, back in the 50s or 60s or even earlier. What's some more that are really popular? Uh, has anyone read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley? Because I had to read it in high school. They had the idea of feelies, which were works of art out of practically nothing but pure sensation. We call those a 4D film now. Or at least you can kind of get the idea of a 4D film from that. Smart glasses and virtual reality. Pygmalion spectacles, magical spectacles. This was in 1935. A lot of different sci-fi predicted basically a the atom bomb. Like it wasn't exactly the atom bomb, but it was like some kind of controlled explosion of a specific type. Oh, that's where the term came from. Huh, I never knew that. Robert Heinlein had a story in 1942 called Waldo. If you are a fan of sci-fi or maybe just robotics in general, the remote manipulator or robot assisted surgery, you can sometimes hear them called Waldos, and I didn't realize that actually came from a book. And this was in 1942. Isaac Asimov predicting pocket calculators in 1951. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury predicting earphones, which were like seashells for earbuds. The Wall TV, a bank which was open all night and every night with robot tellers for an ATM. Minority Report. Anyone remember that movie? They predicted facial recognition systems. It was originally a book back in 1956, or a short story. And also the personalization of ads. How many of you guys know those and hate those just as much as I do? So, yeah, are these things being predicted by. Are these things being predicted by science fiction movies and literature, or are they inspiring people to make these things that were in their favorite sci fi show growing up? And now we come to some issues that I have noticed in sci fi. I've heard it a lot in the author scene that it is sometimes difficult for authors with female sounding names or female authors in general to get published. There was, I remember reading an interview done by I know I'm going to completely and utterly mess up her name. Ziran J. Zhao, who wrote the Iron Widow series, which was basically a mecha reimagining of Emperor Wu Zetian. She originally tried to get it published underneath as adult science fiction, and she had to instead rewrite parts of it and get it published for the teen market. So that is something I've seen, I've either heard her say in her TikToks or I've seen it in some posts that she's written. So then you're going to get the same thing that happens with all genre fiction. You're eventually going to get something that is an oversaturation of a certain type of genre or subgenre. Looking at dystopian YA fiction. After the success of the Hunger Games and Divergent, it seems like everyone was jumping on the dystopian teen fiction to the point where you just get burned out on it. So that is something that can happen, but again, that is something that happens with anything new. And then you get something that does turn up a lot with people who I talk science fiction about, with sometimes you end up burnout because some of these sci-fi stories can be very depressing. Like I said, they are often social issues at the time ramped up to 11. So if there is bad stuff going on in the world today that's being written about, imagine that ramped up to 11 and just a whole slew of those getting read all at once. So sometime, and this is more of a you go and read thing, and you're looking for those specifically, and you burn yourself out on them. So it does happen. It's also similar to the oversaturation, but it happens with every genre. Uh, sci-fi for not sci-fi, fantasy for example had all of the vampire romances after Twilight happened, where it was always like a 300, 400-year old guy falling in love with a 16-year-old girl, which, bleh, in my opinion, my personal opinion, if I see that happening, I will instantly put a book down and it'll go on my did not finish list. Or you get the chosen heroine with a triangle, which is really more of a point. As you, I covered that in my romances thing. If it's a true love triangle, in my opinion, it should be person A is in love with person B is in love with person C, and person C is in love with person A. That should be a true love triangle, not two guys both in love with the same girl. That is a carrot. That is a love carrot. So that is, I do believe, yes, that is all for today's little lecture. Again, if you have any questions, pop them into the chat. I am still watching. If you would have any questions after this, you can always email them to me. My email is attached to the description. So that was our little lecture for this evening. If you have any questions, do feel free to email them to me. My email is attached to the lovely thing here. There is my email right there on the bottom. Do feel free to contact me. You can also send messages through Facebook, and I will answer them. Our next month's topic is, going to butcher this word, the Bildungsroman, aka the coming of a. It's a certain type of coming of age novel. So we will be covering that next month, and that will be on. I always forget what day it is because it's the 11th, July 11th. Not July, August 11th. I'm still dazed from yesterday's summer reading finale for the youth. If anyone, as I said, if anyone has any questions, please contact me. You guys all have a lovely